We have gone through a lot of changes during the past few years. If one goes back and look at just at the beginning of the 1900s, you will actually discover that already there were financial services being conducted in the postal services. It is also very clear that those financial services were focused on unbanked, the underbanked, and the low-income people. Today, it is not any different, especially for NAMPOST. We remain firmly focused on financial inclusion. About 32 years ago, when NAMPOST was established, and we had our first annual report, we had roughly 69 million in assets. Today, we are looking at a balance sheet of over 8.1 billion. We have covered some ground significantly. And if you bring it a bit forward and look at 2009, we had about 1.5 billion, meaning that we have actually built up the size of the balance sheet for the past few years, notably. It is noteworthy that the bulk of those assets belong to the savings bank. And it is the savings bank account holders whose needs we are addressing today. They need to be able to transact, pay the bills, send money, and whatever one may need to be doing in terms of transacting. So we are giving them today the convenience to use digital platforms. Of course, the journey we are undertaking in terms of transformation and changing things, it's not a new journey. We have been doing that. And one can recall, if you paid attention to the video, that we introduced the smart card way back in 2006. And I still recall when I joined NAMPOST and interacted with one of the banks saying, okay, can you actually facilitate the smart card in terms of using your infrastructure? And I told them a bit that, well, you see, our smart card is not just a smart card. You see, your normal smart card, even the cards that you have today, all it does is enables you to open a gate to talk to a computer server somewhere. Now, of course, that smart card that we introduced in 2006, you talk to the smart card, not to the computer somewhere else. Once I told him that, I never saw him again. It was just not feasible for them to talk to a smart card. But that's what we had. The value were actually in the smart card. And because we were doing it offline, when you, of course, you come online, then the card can actually update the rest of the infrastructure. Tonight, of course, we are talking about launching a NAMPOST app. We are talking about putting the EFT capability in the hands of our customers. We are looking at giving online access to the accounts using the app and introducing the capability for our customers to know the balance on their accounts and make payments. Of course, we know the market is dynamic. The needs of the customers are constantly changing. Technology is changing. And as a business, of course, we must keep up with these changes. And that's exactly what we are doing by launching these capabilities. We are keeping up with the needs in the market. The launching of the digital platforms, of course, is not something that is done in isolation. It's an integral part of the strategy of NAMPOST. 4 items very critical for us in terms of our strategy. We want to develop and maintain a high-performance culture. We want to transform the business of NAMPOST, and that means whether it is Korea, whether it is mail, is financial services, we are looking at how we can transform that going into the future. We want to be customer-centric, and we want to maintain and strengthen the financial sustainability of the entity. In the video, I've touched on the goals, the digital goals that we are focusing on, and the digital goals directly flow from the strategic goals that I have just mentioned, and today we are just ticking off one of those critical aspects that we have experienced, or that enhances the experience of the customer, at the same time touching on the capability to generate revenue better.
We are strengthening our commitment to Namibia's economic and social progression. We're ensuring that economic growth is inclusive, bringing services closer to the people, especially to the most vulnerable members of our society, while also driving necessary transformation. Consider, for example, that 271,000 Visa Smart Card holders, Namibians, who are now enjoying access to affordable payment services backed by secure saving facilities, and the 126,618 individuals insured through NAMPOST, many of whom are low-income earners, and further demonstrating their dedication to inclusivity. In Namibia, social progress is intricately tied to ICT expansion. With 136 points of presence, NAMPOST continues to serve as a lifeline to many of our citizens, many of whom who live in remote areas, and over 50 of these post offices are the sole providers of financial services in their respective communities. While some of these offices may not be profitable, 66% of them remain operational because they serve a deeper social need, a need where everybody must be included, where everybody must get a chance to have access to financial services. It is in these communities that 113,538 social grant recipients are served monthly, illustrating the indispensable role of NAMPOST in advancing social inclusion. As government, we are committed and we continue to pursue an ICT industry that benefits all Namibians, ensuring that majority of our population has equal access to these critical services. Earlier this year during the trade fair at the MTC conference, I said there is no government in the world that would feel satisfied or be happy that either half or 70% or 25% of their population is not included in critical services that they can benefit from. It is not in the interest of us at the Ministry of ICT, whether it's from the minister to the last person in the ministry, that we have populations that are not connected. They are struggling to make phone calls, they're struggling to make SMSs, they're struggling to get basic services. It is not in our interest. It does not bode well for us that we are unable to have 100% of our population connected. So I can guarantee you of government's commitment to ensure that when services become available with the financial support or with the evolving industry where solutions are being developed to connect the unconnected, that role will not cede to anybody else, but take responsibility for, because it is in our best interest if a nation is digitally literate, if people can go online and transact, can go online and run their businesses, whether it's selling products or services on social media platforms or other platforms, selling, their expertise and skills by working, living in Namibia, but teleworking for companies all over the world because they have meaningful connectivity to do so, and therefore reducing our unemployment numbers. I can guarantee you that as a government, we are committed to pursue those ICT benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic challenged all of us in ways that we had never anticipated before. NAMPOST as an institution has stood strong for 32 years, had to adapt swiftly to continue its service to the nation, and today we see the fruits of that adaptation. We had an ICT summit about last month, between the 9th to the 11th of September. And our ICT summit theme was adapt or die in the era of digital transformation and artificial intelligence. And it's true, you either adapt or die. And I'm very happy to see that NAMPOST, standing strong, continues to adapt. And in doing so, ladies and gentlemen, this evening we see the fruits of that adaptation, a proactive step towards digital transformation that will redefine how our citizens bank and engage with financial services well beyond 2024, well beyond 2030, and the years to come.